Hey everybody. So Criterion Collection number 6, Beauty and the Beast, the French film from 1946 by director. I am not good with foreign names. I'm barely good with American names, but we're going to try it. Jean Cocteau. No idea if I'm even close. Let's talk about the film itself. Let's talk about the plot, and then we'll do the little bit of film talk at the end. So, the story has some differences from the Disney version that we all know. Now, I've never read the original books, the original source material, so I don't know if this is more accurate to the original source material or if the Disney one is. Although, if I had to bet, I would bet that this one over Disney. Mainly because I doubt they wrote in all the musical numbers. This one doesn't have musical numbers. The one of the biggest differences is we don't actually learn much about the beast's curse. It's one or two lines. It was, my family didn't believe in spirits, and so spirits took their revenge through me. That's it. That's as much as we get. Belle has a much larger family. It's not just her dad. She's got two sisters and a brother. Her brother is kind of the sidekick to the Gaston type character, which is still mostly present in this. I would argue he's a little less of a villain, but mostly he's still him. And then the two sisters treat Belle as if she's Cinderella. That's the dynamic there. Apart from that, it is pretty much the story beats that you're expecting, right? Her father gets lost in the woods, captured by the beast. The beast lets a daughter take his spot. Belle volunteers because she's a good daughter, even though her father doesn't want her to. They fall in love and live happily ever after, more or less. I'm not gonna fully spoil the ending because you should check it out. But there's a bit of gaslighting around the ending that kind of tarnishes the happy ending for me. But I think that's on purpose. If you are not a big fan of foreign films because you're not a strong reader and can't keep up with the subtitles, this one would not be a bad one to cut your teeth on because the dialogue is mostly short and simple. A lot of the film is just ambiance, looking at these things, checking out the effects, and that's where we'll do the tiniest bit of filmography, filmmaking talk. Still recovering from Christmas. Obviously, being in 1946, there is no CGI in this movie. Instead, they use what is called practical effects. Practical effects is just not CGI, is honestly the easiest way to put it to you. Think Aliens, not the movie Aliens, but Aliens in media. In Star Trek, because it was a lower budget show, they didn't do like CGI aliens like you got in Star Wars with Jar Jar Binks, right? There was no Jar Jar, it was 100% CG and then voiceover. And so instead, they sit a guy down in a chair, they paint him green, and they glue ridges on his nose or whatever, and that's your Star Trek alien. That's practical effects, right? Generally speaking, practical effects are, I don't want to just say that they're better. They tend to age better than CG because if you look at CGI effects from like 20 years ago versus today, they are very different in quality. And even today, CG can be really rough if it's rushed. That said, I'm not here to just like crap on computer generated effects because sometimes that's how you get your vision, right? If you want something impossible, sometimes CG is the way to go. And sometimes CG can be just a sweetener, right? It's not the full effect. They'll do this a lot with explosions, right? They'll do a practical explosion, which is, setting off just a really big fire bomb and film it. And then they'll use a little bit of CG to sweeten the image, to make the flames a little bit bigger, a little more vibrant. Because reality doesn't always translate to film. I'm getting way off track now, but an example of this is going to be rain. Even a really good downpour can, depending on lighting and everything, barely show up on film. I guarantee you have watched scenes of television and film where it was pouring down rain, but it wasn't supposed to be, and you didn't know that it was. It happens all the time. Just because something is real doesn't mean it looks real, which is weird. Anyway, obviously, this film does a lot of practical effects. I like practical effects. They take skill to pull off. Creating good CG is a skill too, right? It's a whole other art form. Again, I am not denigrating the people that do that or the people that use that. Practical effects can look terrible if they're not done smart or well. In this movie, they are done smart and well. It helps a little bit that it's black and white because, like one of the big effects that they keep doing, the Beast Castle is magical, but he doesn't have like dancing servants. Instead, what it is like the torch holders. You can tell it's really just somebody's arm that they're shoving through a wall that's holding the torch, and it unfurls, and you see it holding the torch, right? But because they can paint the arms to look like stone and the way the motions work, it's a decent effect. Even better are all throughout the castle there are statues. Now the statues are mostly just people painted like stone. But even on the fireplace there's like faces. And the faces are real people, you can tell, but they're painted gray and they've sometimes got smoke coming out of them. But you don't see the rest of their body. There's also a magical arm that like serves at the table, and it's just somebody's arm sticking up through the middle of the table and doing things. But it looks good. The film does look magical. The castle itself looks great. And the film does take some time to like breathe in its own ambiance, which is nice. Also, it's a French film. And what did we say we're going to talk about with every French film? The ending is fine. It ends where it should end. Shockingly, the ending is an ending. Although there is a little bit of gaslighting that, like I said, takes a little bit of the gleam off. But I kind of like it. I kind of like that it's not a fully happy ending, because a lot of these fairy tales did not have happy endings. The happy endings have been manufactured after the fact. So, no. Overall, great film. Very fun. You should go check it out. Even just the makeup effects of the Beast are pretty well done. Apparently it took about 3 hours to get his face on, and then it took like an hour for his hands as well. So it's very well done. My biggest complaint story-wise is they don't do a very good job of showing why Belle falls in love with the Beast. It just kind of happens because it should. The Disney version at least shows, like a montage of them spending time together and her warming to him a little bit. But it's a fairy tale. The movie even opens with a little fourth wall breaking thing that basically says, children are more accepting of the fantastic than adults. If you tell a child that, this fantastic, amazing thing happens, the child will just believe you. So let's all try and be a little bit more childlike as we go into this story, right? So it's meant to be a fairy tale. And in that regard, I do think it's very well done. It is very nice to look at. The story is just different enough from the Disney version to make it feel fresh. And there's no singing candlesticks. Now, whether that's a plus or a minus, that's up to you. Anyway, that's what I've got for Beauty and the Beast. The next movie, it will be in English. It will be A Night to Remember from 1958 from the United Kingdom. So, yeah, let's keep on trucking. I'll see you guys.